I have an Echinacea plant, aka the coneflower plant. Now it is in the worst spot because my chickens have been attacking the plant and it's starting to go, not look so good. So that means I need to move it. But that leads me to the next question. Where am I going to move the Echinacea plant? What is good for it? Can I propagate the plant? Which of course we can, but I'm gonna show you that later. And also the next one is, can you plant it in a compost pile? Have you ever thought about planting flowers and or produce in a compost pile? Could you do it? What happens to it if you did it? We're gonna find out. What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a much needed form of mental health therapy, sobriety, and also using our garden and learning about tips, tricks, and hacks on how to navigate this crazy ass world with ADHD. And I have a compost pile here that I never planned on it, but did I really though? Jose did not see it coming. Either way, I have a compost pile right there. It did not start out as a compost pile. I had a bunch of leftover wood chips and a bunch of grass clippings, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna leave it there and I'm gonna let my chickens do its thing. Unfortunately, it started spreading everywhere, so Jose decided to kind of fence it all up, and then he said to me, do you want to turn it into a garden bed? And of course I said yes. But now here we are. I have a lot of questions and we're going to be answering them in this video. It is going to be a two-part to this video. Like the first beginning a few minutes of the video is going to be all about the Echinacea. We're going to talk about propagation, sunlight requirements, moving it, and all that fun stuff. But the second part, or the later half of the video, is all about the compost pile. What can you plant in it? Can you plant in a compost pile? Can you produce flowers, fruits, and anything in there? Is there any problems with it? We're going to find out. Notice that the leaves of the Echinacea of my backyard plant is doing just fine. So if I wanted to, I could definitely harvest a lot of these leaves. It will bounce back. There is enough for me to harvest. We don't have any of the flower petals, but at least we can start our medicine cabinet for Echinacea with the leaves. Yup, the little mini dinosaurs have gotten to my plant and have just chewed the mess out of it. Echinacea propagates super easily, and I found that out this year through working or volunteering with the Master Gardening program out here, and they offered me some of their Echinacea cone plant flowers, and I was like, what? I'll take some. How in the world am I going to get it? Oh yeah, you divide it from the roots. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing as we dig that up. I'm going to show you how it works. This plant right here is still good. I'm going to be transplanting that by itself. But this other big lump, I'm going to be showing you how to actually separate the Echinacea plant roots so you can get a good different type of propagation. Notice that I'm in the ground is because it is easier for my back, and I have a cute little small shovel for it. But I also know that this is very shallow rooted because I moved this only like what, a few weeks ago, thinking that it was in the right spot, but it totally wasn't. So here it is. This is an easy lift right here. So the thing is that one, Echinacea loves a lot of sun. As you see right here, I am in full sun right now, but I don't get full sun the entire time, because I get shade from a bunch of stupid trees that are around here. Number two, fun fact about this is that this plant can tolerate a drought, which means that if you forget to water it for a few days or something like that, it's gonna survive. But when you are transplanting or the plant is in baby form, you need to give it a lot of water. Once the root system is established and the plant is looking like it's thriving, then it can tolerate a good drought. I want to be propagating this because I want to be able to have multiple amounts of Echinacea. I am using this for two reasons. One, for medicinal value, because the medicinal value of an Echinacea plant is huge. Anti-inflammatory, great for colds and congestion. Either way, I'll name it right up here. I've done multiple, I think like 2 different videos on the different type of herbs I'm growing for medicinal purposes, and the Echinacea plant is vital into that, into the whole herbalism list that I have. So we need to save this. This is one Echinacea plant by itself, but once you have a larger amount of Echinacea that you're trying to separate, you separate them from the roots. Notice something. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now if I wanted to separate all 5 of them, I totally could. All we're going to do is just kind of separate them by the roots. We also have another one right here. See, we're going to separate them. They're just going to be tangled through the root system. And that's it. Bam, we got another one. Just to make sure that one of these will survive, because again, that compost pile is an experiment. So we're going to find out which one works best and what not, what doesn't work best. See how the main root right here in the center, I have another one right here and I have another one right here. So technically we're just going to be splitting it. Before you start pulling and yanking and separating, you want to make sure that there's a little bit of a root system there. I noticed that there is some right there. So if I kind of pull this apart, that I'm gonna get some of that root system. It's not much. It's not much of a root system, but I did pluck some of them. Now this one, I may nurture this and not put it in that pile because it is still too fragile. So I would actually be putting some root hormone powder on this and put it in a container until it's a lot more healthy, and then I would transplant it into that pile. But for now, let's see, check out the other one. Eventually, if the plant is a lot larger, you would not need to go through all this full-blown splitting and everything. It does get a lot easier. But for now, if you are trying to split it when it's like from a small plant, this is how you do it. Sometimes they do develop into two separate plants, but they are conjoined in the roots. So now we're just going to kind of separate them, and bam, there we go. You definitely can use root hormone powder to really secure and really increase your chances of getting some root development. But being that I'm not going to do that because I'm too lazy to go walk inside of my house to go get my root hormone, I'm just going to be planting it directly into the ground. Notice that there's so many pieces. Look at the root systems on this. I know it doesn't look the best now, but we're just going to dig a hole and pop that in here. If you are using root hormone powder, you're just dipping the roots into it and then you just plant it inside the ground directly. I'm just gonna pop them in there, cover it, and that's it. I'm gonna watch it. Now remember, this plant is going to go to shock. Just letting you know that. Water immediately after transplanting too, and not with hot water, because I've done that before and that will kill a plant. So cool water, please. Here on the other hand though, if you try to plant something in that compost pile, plant it in the coolest area possible. Have you ever noticed when you throw your pumpkins, your squashes, your gourds inside of a compost pile, that in a few months to next year, you'll start to germinate a bunch of other pumpkin seeds and seedlings? Next thing you know, you have a unintended, unplanned pumpkin patch. Yeah, that's the concept that I was thinking about. The main reason why you're not supposed to be like planting inside of a compost pile is because of that compost pile gets really, really heated. That's what you need in order for your plant, like all that material to decompose. You need that heat, especially in the wintertime when you want your compost pile to keep going. You want that heat to be stored or saved inside of that middle of that pile. This is a perfect example of how this plant did not survive because apparently I planted it in the wrong spot in that compost pile area. This is not looking so hot at all. Look at the bottom of it. I mean, I did get these plants on discount, but still, this is like really bad. And I certainly did not buy it like this. So this side of the compost pile is not looking good at all. This one, not so bad, not so bad. I mean, it is looking like a little on the deathish side, you know what I mean? Like toward the bottom and stuff. But I am kind of hopeful. I am concerned because if you notice, whoop, there are some indentations, and I think that's where I put the compost in. Oh, you saw that? Oh, that's not good. I think there's food scraps somewhere. Oh, look at that. Food scraps. I was right. That's why it was so soggy. Anywhere where you have food scraps, this is probably not a good idea. It is still kind of close to that butterfly bush. This one doesn't seem to be affected too much. As far as my hollyhocks, some of them survived. Now, a lot of the stems is not looking too good, but look at the leaves. They seem to have survived. I'm thinking one is because whenever I originally put in a bunch of food scraps for this compost pile, it was over there on the other side, right where that rudbeckia is. This area is where I originally put some previous echinacea. Notice how this is not looking good. However, remember, we look at the bottom, the leaves. So this plant is still alive, it's just trying to struggle to come back. Notice that the green is still going on. I mean, it still looks a little on the hurt side, but hopeful. Again, this is closer to the end of the area, so this seems to be a safer area to be planting my echinacea. Some of them did bounce back. It is going to take some more time for the rest of them to bounce back, but so far so good. Notice out of all of them that is sticking up. It's sticking up right. So this is a good sign. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some great information out of it. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you tried this before? Regardless, have you tried planting in a compost pile before? How has it worked out for you? Let me know down in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. Also, don't forget you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok is all about my mental health journey, but then we have the Instagram and Facebook that's just about my random everyday things with plants and life in general. Until the next episode, you guys, where you and me both are going to be growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. God bless you all. I'll check y'all later in the next episode. Peace and love.